Starting live video.
Just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services. So, as to serve you better, call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we need you. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. For Arkansas, the surrounding areas, and the nation, get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, and welcome to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. It's the Friday edition. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to do a couple of things. I've been telling you all quite for some time that I have a book list. A lot of people have asked me over the years, what did I do to really launch my research about us? And I've compiled this book list over the years. So over the next few Fridays, I'm actually going to give you the book list, and I'm going to post them to my Black Focus wall as well, so you all can go out and get that book list. I'm doing something a little different today because I'm trying to take advantage of all the mediums that are available for this show. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm streaming live on Facebook, as I do every day. So I appreciate you all joining me. I'm actually streaming that on my phone. I am also streaming live on YouTube, which I will start doing more of. I should have probably already been doing it. I've had the software. I'm going to be updating the backgrounds and things of that nature. But I already had this background set up and ready to go because I was playing around with it 6-7 months ago. So we'll be streaming YouTube as well. And periodically what I'll do is I'll give you the link to the live stream so that you can see it for yourself. Okay? So I'll make sure I get all of that out there to you once I figure out the best way to do this. But right now I am streaming live on YouTube as well. I did find out something today that if you don't have 1,000 followers, then they won't let you do it live via your phone on YouTube. So I would rather stream live on YouTube on my phone and do Facebook Live on my PC. But it's kind of backwards, which is fine. They both work okay. But I'm going to post the link on the feed right now. And if you all will do me a favor, just go out there and see if it works. See if the sound is okay. All of that stuff. Let me know what you think about it. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Brenda. How y'all doing? So I'm posting the YouTube link right now. So do me a favor. Go out and click on that and tell me what happens. Okay? So it does come up as a Black Focus live stream. So that's good. So I need you, somebody go out and tell me what the sound is, okay? I just posted that, and I'm still inviting people to the party, all of that stuff. I do a lot of things here, okay? Got to make sure I got the audio recording going and all that other stuff. But the reason we're doing this is because we are trying to increase our footstep, or I should say our footprint, not just locally, but nationally. And to be able to stream on these multiple mediums are very important. So I need you all to go out there and do likes on YouTube. Like me on YouTube. I'm gonna start doing this every day going forward. So I'll probably be streaming on my. I know I'll be streaming on the phone and my PC all at one time. All right, and you'll see some different backgrounds. I wish YouTube would let us put up backgrounds as well, but that's another story in itself. I'm nerding out on you. But I'm excited I got everything working. The stream seems to look good on YouTube. I'm looking at it right now. Someone is watching. So, and of course you see all the stuff that's going on related to the stream and stuff like that. So this is good. So I'm excited about this. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the show. Excuse me. I don't know. Sometimes, you get that stuff in the back of your throat and you can't swallow it or get it out, and you just got to hark it up. Okay. All right. So that's better. All right. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The weather's nice. They're talking about it's going to be rain tomorrow. I don't know. I might even try to go fishing today. I actually went to this store and bought some live bait. They're not live bait, but they look like live bait. They look like little brim. So I'm looking forward to try those out here in the next few days. So I'll let you know about that going forward. Thanks everybody for joining me. Make sure you like this page. Make sure you like Black Focus Radio. Make sure you are sharing the information. I listened a little bit to Dr. Boyce Watkins yesterday, and I don't know if I'm prophetic or what, but he mentioned that he's trying to help develop a network of black news around the country, not him individually, but stay in touch with black newsmakers and people who are putting out news and newsworthy items. So we will be reaching out to Dr. Boyce Watkins here in the coming days to make sure that he knows about Black Focus, and hopefully we can get him on the air with us as well coming forward here. So, of course, as we do it every day, we've got to do Black Facts. And we're going to talk Black Facts about there are 5 civilizations, great black civilizations, and I think you'll like it. So since we're going to do Black Facts, let's go ahead and jump into them right now.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Man, I love doing Black Facts. And one of the things, and it's funny, what I was listening to Dr. Watkins was about, he was having a comment about Talib Kweli, I believe, who wrote the article about the ADS that I talked about yesterday and the day before. I had brought up the fact about ADOS, and why I disagree with it. Those of you who don't know what that stands for, it means American descendants of slaves. My argument against that moniker is I am not a descendant of slaves. Okay? It sounds cute. Now, Kweli made the point that actual monitor was brought out by white supremacists. Okay? But even before that, I said that I don't subscribe to hashtag ADOS simply because I am not a descendant of slaves. Okay? I am a descendant of kings and queens. Let me say that again. I am not a descendant of slaves, so I don't subscribe to the moniker hashtag ADOS, which means American descendant of slaves. Now, if you want to go ahead and start your history there, hey, I'm not mad at you at all. I'm just going to tell you that you're wrong. All right? And I'm going to prove it to you in the Black Facts today. 5 ancient African empires besides Egypt that Europeans and Arabs tried to claim as their own. Here's the first one. The Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe from 1220 to 1450. The civilization of Great Zimbabwe was one of the most significant civilizations during the medieval period. Great Zimbabwe is extraordinary because of the magnificent scale of its structures. Its most striking edifice, referred to as the Great Enclosure, has walls as high as 36 feet, extending approximately 820 feet, making it the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara Desert. In the 1800s, European explorers, imperialists, and colonizers were stunned by the great Zimbabwe's grandeur and the cunning workmanship. So they attributed the architecture to Portuguese travelers, Arabs, Chinese, Persians, or even biblical characters such as King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The irony is that those people who they attributed some of the buildings to were actually black, but I digress. According to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, archaeological investigations conducted during the first decades of the 20th century have dismissed those attributions, and confirmed both the antiquity of the site and its African origins. It was built by the ancestors of the indigenous Shona people in the 11th century, long before the first Europeans ever set foot in Zimbabwe. So you all still think that you are descendants of slaves, right? American descendants of slaves. So that's point one to show you that you are not a descendant of a slave. Here's ancient Nubia, 4500 BC to 500 AD. Ancient Nubia, also known as what? Kush. Now, where have we heard the name Kush before? Do y'all remember? If you are a long-time listener of this show, I've told you the name Kush. Kushites. Think about it, girls and boys. Where have we heard the name Kush? Well, you've heard it if you are Christian, if you are Muslim. You've heard it in the Quran and you've heard it in the Bible. Okay? In fact, Kush is the first country mentioned in the Bible. You know what it's called, right? Before I tell you, by the way, Kush is mentioned in the Bible more than every country except one. That one country is Egypt. Kush is mentioned second most. We know it today as modern day Ethiopia. But I digress again. Ancient Nubia, also known as Kush, was a region along the Nile River located in northern Sudan and southern Egypt. It was home to some of Africa's earliest kingdoms, known for rich deposits of gold. Nubia was a major trading port for luxury goods that came from sub-Saharan Africa, such as incense, ivory, and ebony. The first monarchy of recorded history was established in Nubia. The Nubians were also known for the exceptional archery skills that provided the military strength for their rulers. Kings of Nubia ultimately conquered and ruled Egypt for about a century. Monuments still stand in modern Egypt and Sudan at the sites where Nubian rulers built cities, temples, and royal pyramids. In the 1800s, the Western world interest in Nubia was awakened by the rediscovery of the ancient empire's monuments, which were reported almost simultaneously as individual British, French, and American explorers. Many of them found it difficult to create indigenous Africans for building such a civilization. Let me read that again. Many of them found it difficult to credit indigenous Africans for building such a civilization. During the 1840s, German Egyptologist Carl Richard Lippius asserted confidently that the Greek term Ethiopian, when referring to the ancient civilized people of Kush, did not apply to Negroes, but was used to describe reddish-skinned people closely related to the Egyptians who belonged to the Caucasian race. Again, in 1852, when the American diplomat Bayard Taylor visited Sudan and gazed upon the temple carvings of gods and rulers with clearly African features, he also found it inconceivable that they could have been created by black-skinned Africans. Rather, he asserted, echoing Lepsius, they must have been created by Egyptians or immigrants from India or Arabia, or an offshoot of the white race. Number 3, Carthage. Carthage was founded in 9th century BC on the Gulf of Tunis. From the 6th century onwards, it developed into a great trading empire covering the Mediterranean and was the home of a brilliant civilization. In the course of the long Punic Wars, Carthage occupied some of Rome's territories before finally being destroyed by its rival in 146 BC. In the book, World's Great Men of Color, Volume 1, historic scholar J.A. Rogers asserts the Carthaginians were descendants of the Phoenicians, a Negroid people, and that, in fact, until the rise of the doctrine of white superiority, Hannibal was traditionally known as a black man. Today, most encyclopedias classify the Carthaginians as white or Semites. But ancient Greek and Roman eyewitness accounts paint a different picture. The indigenous peoples of Carthage were called the Afars. Ancient Rome poet Virgil, in his poem Moratum, speaks of a woman from Afar, her race. He says, and all her figure proves her native land. Her hair was curly, thick her lips, dark her color. In Library of History, Book 20, Greek historian Diodorus mentions a Greek lieutenant named Agathocles, who defeated a people in the area of present-day Tunisia, who were the same hue as Ethiopians. The eyewitness accounts are corroborated by physical anthropology. L. Bertheron and L. Chantrar, both well-noted French anthropologists, documented their examination of skeletons throughout northern Africa and in all the period. They note that the remains of both upper and lower class individuals of ancient North Africa were representative of the Negroid race. Wow. And by the way, if you didn't know it, Hannibal, his war trials, how he fought wars, are studied today at West Point. And yeah, the Carthaginians were black. Okay. Country number 4, Namibia. Namibia was another great black bearer Libyan nation in northern Algeria during the time of Romans and Carthaginians. It began as a sovereign state and later alternated status between Roman progress and Roman client state. It is considered to be the first major state in the history of Algeria and the Berber world. Namibia has also been classified by European and Arab historians as Caucasian or Semitic built civilization. However, in the book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by who? Chancellor Williams declared that Libya was once nearly all black, and that to be called a Libyan meant that one was black. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing about Libya in his Histories, Book 4, stated, one thing I can add about this country, so far as one knows, it is inhabited by 4 races, and 4 only, of which 2 are indigenous and 2 are not. The indigenous peoples of the Libyans are the Libyans and Ethiopians, the former occupying the northerly and the latter the southerly parts. The immigrants are Phoenicians and Greeks. One of the most famous Berber Moors of the Roman times was Massassissa, the king of Namibia from 238 to 148 BCE, who assisted the Romans against the Carthaginians during the Punic Wars. The coin depictions and statues of King Massinissa confirm without doubt that the great Berber leader and king of the Moors was phenotypically a black African with woolly hair similar to the Western African type. Syphax, king of Namibia, a contemporary and rival king, was also depicted in his coinage as phenotypically black African. So there's a coin on this story. There's one that depicts Hannibal, and there's another one who depicts this particular king, and they look black. Now again, I used to always ask the question, if the people weren't black, why would they, look, if I'm gonna paint a picture about myself, it's gonna look like me, okay? And the last great African empire, to prove to you all that you are not descendants of slaves, you are descendants of great African empires. The king, this is Axum, 100 AD to 940 AD. The kingdom of Axum was a powerful Ethiopian Eritrean empire located in northern Ethiopia and Eritrea. It developed its power by controlling the Red Sea trade routes. Axum was ruled by the Nagus, the king of kings. Under King Azana, Axum was the most powerful empire in Northeast Africa, and in 350 CE sacked the Nubian kingdom of Mero. In the latter part of the 4th century, Axum invaded and the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula and occupied Yemen from 335 to 370. At its height, Axum included the surrounding Ethiopian highlands of Beja, Noba, Kasu, and the Arabian kingdoms of Himar and Sabar. The kingdom of Axum was prosperous from 100 AD to 700 AD. It was contemporary with the Roman Empire, and according to the Persian religious leader Mani, the Axumite civilization was third among the 4th greatest of the time, on par with Rome, Persia, and China. A theory about the origins of Axum was that it was founded by Semitic people, Sabians, and crossed the Red Sea from South Arabian, modern Yemen. However, scholars now agree that Sabian influence was negligible and kingdom was founded by indigenous Africans. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just say it again. You are not a descendant of slaves. You are a descendant of great civilizations, kings, queens, astronomers, doctors, mathematicians, architects. So let's drop this hashtag ADOS. And that
Focus Radio for more dynamic black facts, our culture, our history, our people on TuneInRadio.com.
And yes, that is our black fact for today. I had to bring that out. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be long, but those were 5 kingdoms, and you can go out and read it yourself. 5 great African kingdoms that we came from. Now, specifically where? Then you got to go out and do your DNA search. But we didn't come from the Caribbean, okay? Because even if you think you did, the folks in the Caribbean came from somewhere unless they were already on this continent, okay? The majority of us came from Africa. And that's potentially 5 kingdoms. Now, the fascinating thing about it, as you go back and you read some of the history, that's why I tell you that you have to read more when you're doing research. Don't just take one person's word for it, because in a couple of those stories, what you heard were white and Arab researchers claiming that those civilizations were not initially black. Many of them were Semitic, which means Jewish or Arab. No, they weren't. And of course, many people went back and did the DNA testing on some of the bones that they found. And we know now unequivocally that civilization began in Africa. And anything after that, y'all are our children. So let's stop this craziness about, oh no, Africa can't, no, y'all came from Africa. And with that being said, you are not a descendant. You are not an American descendant of slaves. You are an American descendant of kings, queens, and great empires. And that's why I don't agree with the ADOS situation. And that's our Black Fact for today. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you want to join the show, you can call me up. You can call me up and let's debate some of these facts. But, you know, when there are facts, they're kind of hard to debate. You know what I'm saying, Vern? So just be careful with that. Now, a couple of things I want to ask you today. Have you spent any money at a black business since Nipsey's death? Y'all know Nipsey Hussle. You know that y'all spent hours yesterday in front of the TV watching the memorial service, and some of y'all cried and some of y'all were upset and some of y'all screamed at the TV, y'all agreeing with Minister Farrakhan and Snoop Dogg and all the people that came up and lamented the death of Nipsey Hussle. Y'all remember that, right? Now, my tag says to the show today, we're still waiting for the woke revolutionaries to put their money where their mouths are. And I just realized, let's see. I'm picky like this. I just realized I had a grammatical error and I'm changing it real fast. Y'all give me a moment here, okay? Don't get mad at me. Put their money where their mouths are, like the Georgetown students. I'll tell you what that means here in just a moment if you're not up on what I'm talking about when it comes to the Georgetown students, okay? The long-awaited and much talked about book list will be revealed today. So, as I said earlier in the show, I am going to give you some the beginning of my book list. That when I began to research, and I'll tell you why I did all of that, you know, trying to decide, do I want to be Christian? Do I want to be Muslim? Where do I want to go? It launched me into a, decade-long research of reading. And I've come to the conclusion of where I am today. We'll talk about all of that here in a little bit. So, all right. So, yesterday, there were a lot of people who spent a lot of time in front of the TV watching Nipsey Hussle, or the funeral for Nipsey, I should say. And it was, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I wasn't a Nipsey Hussle fan. I did not know Nipsey Hussle. You know, I understand that there were people who were shot at the funeral. Way to go. A way to celebrate his legacy, but I guess in a way, that is part of his life, considering that he was an ex-gangbanger. And I'm pretty sure that some of his illegal activity got somebody iced. But we're not going to quibble over that, are we? No, we're not. But here's my point. Nipsey, what he stood for is nothing new. Let me say that again. What Nipsey was trying to get accomplished is nothing new. What he talked about as far as helping the community and all those things, man, that stuff has been talked about for decades. Now, I'm not saying this to rain on his parade or anything like that. I'm just simply glad that there are some young people out there who are at least listening. At least they're saying they're listening. Okay? I'm hoping you're listening. But the only way that I can be sure that you're listening is that you've got to put your money where your mouths are. Okay? That means you've got to start spending your money with black people. After all, isn't that what Nipsey was doing? Yes, he was. So if you are true to what you're saying, then you all ought to come out of that memorial and all of this upheaval this week and say, hey, we got to fix this. And it begins with us spending money with black people. So I asked the question, how many of y'all did that? How many of y'all have come out of this tragic situation with a renewed sense of black empowerment? Because you can't be black and empowered if you don't have any money. You can walk around with a dashiki on and a ankh and with a black power sign all you want, but you're not empowered unless you have some money. And I'm not talking about individual money, because black people individually have money. It's spread out all over the place. I'm talking about as a group of people. So, did you come out of this situation feeling better about yourself? Do you feel good because you sat down and took some time out and watched the Nipsey Hussle memorial yesterday? And what did you get out of it? Did you watch it just to see who was going to show up? Did you watch it just to see if there was going to be some fireworks? Did you watch it just to hear Minister Farrakhan or Snoop Dogg or whomever spoke? Is that why you watched it, or did you come out of it with a renewed sense of purpose? Because I imagine, even though I didn't know the young man, I imagine that Nipsey would want you to come out of it with a renewed sense of purpose. Walking around painting pictures of Nipsey and putting angel wings on Nipsey, oh, that's wonderful. That's great. So you would rather see an image, a symbol of Nipsey, as opposed to making some concrete memorials for Nipsey by building buildings, by empowering young people to get out of gangs, to go to school, by becoming entrepreneurs. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, you say, well, Dave, I hear you say you're always talking about becoming an entrepreneur. I have nothing to sell, but you do have something to buy. So in a roundabout way, you supporting black entrepreneurs, you are in a roundabout way an entrepreneur yourself. Now, I know the economy calls you a consumer, but you're buying into a community. It's your community. So for every entrepreneur that you support in your community, you become an entrepreneur. And then maybe down the line, it might hit you. Well, you know what? I'm going to try this entrepreneur thing. Let me tell you why you ought to try it. Some of y'all are upset because you got your taxes back and they're like 8 to 10% less than what you thought. I saw this piece on news the other night where this lady said every year they get about $4,500 back. This year they got $2,000. Now we can go into another diatribe of why you shouldn't be getting that much, but that's another story in itself. Now, this was an individual. Now she probably paid about 33%, 34% a tax rate as an individual. Did you know as a business, an entrepreneur, you're paying about 20%, 21%? Y'all do know that, right? Why do you think all these people are going out here? Y'all always say nobody hips us to the game. You see, the reason you don't get hip to the game is because there are a lot of brothers and sisters out here who are talking the game, but y'all won't listen to them because they black. Did you know if you became an entrepreneur next year, your tax rate would be anywhere from 22 and it could get as low as 18%. That's why you find a lot of people saying David W. Coleman LLC. Now, of course, my company is Chan Bear and Associates LLC. But that's just a hip to the game, folks. It's about money. It's how you control your money. It's how you understand your money and how you spend your money. And if you want your communities to be successful, then you must spend your money within your own communities. Now, I understand, I've said it over and over again, that we don't have black communities, we have black neighborhoods. So there's not much to spend in black neighborhoods. So it is incumbent upon us that we must begin to rebuild black communities. We don't have a black community in Little Rock. I can tell you where black folks live. I can tell you where the most concentration of black folks live. But if I say, can I go to any one of those enclaves and buy something black? Can I go buy groceries in those so-called black communities? Can I go get my car fixed? Can I go eat a decent meal? If the answer is no, or let me think about it, oh yeah, then you don't have a black community. And the reason you don't have a black community is because you're not spending your dead presidents in those communities. 855-525-5683 is the number. So I'm asking you all the question. Now that you've gotten all goosed up and cried crocodile tears about Nipsey Hussle, how many of you all are willing to commit to his dream? And you know, it's not even a dream. You know, Martin Luther King had a dream. Quite often those turn into nightmares. And we see that right now, that manifested itself in what's sitting in the White House right now. But Nipsey wasn't just dreaming. Nipsey was actually doing the work. He wasn't sitting around saying, oh man, we gotta. When he got some money, he did. So we as an individual community can do the same thing. Why aren't we doing it? Did the funeral inspire you to be a better black entrepreneur? Or were you just watching to see who sang the best song? Or who rapped the best rap? Who spoke the best? Who was the best orator? If it didn't inspire you, then that's the problem. Young people, did it inspire you? If you go back and you look at history, there have been other great entrepreneurs that were not supported by black people. If you go back and you look at our historic black leaders, most of them died paupers because our black community abandoned them. And you know, that might be an allegory to why so many of us, so many people who would lead, who should lead, will not lead because they understand history. They understand that history shows the black people, the black race, has abandoned all of their leaders at one point in their lives. Hello? So maybe the problem is we have leaders, but it's the followers. And there we go. That's a full circle. Here we are back again. Leadership is only determined by what you allow them to do. Hello, world. 855-525-5683. You know, I mentioned Georgetown University. Every day, you all know I talk about reparations. I read this story to you yesterday. I'm going to read it to you in full. This is from ABC News. Because I talked yesterday, you know, the history of Georgetown and many colleges and universities around this country is the fact that many of them profited or made money off of slavery. In fact, Georgetown University was built off of slaves because they owned slaves and they sold them in order to build that college. They had 272 of them, I believe. So yesterday there was a historic vote that took place. and I scrambled, hoping that by the end of the show, I would get results. And I looked around all afternoon, and finally the results were posted. And here is the story. Georgetown University could become the first college in the nation to mandate a fee to benefit descendants of slaves sold by the university nearly 200 years ago. A debate that takes place against the backdrop of a broader political conversation unfolding on the 2020 presidential campaign trail about reparations. Almost by a 2-to-1 vote, students approved the measure, which still must be approved by the university to go into effect. The school's undergraduates voted Thursday on the referendum, which would increase tuition by $27.20 per semester to create a fund benefiting descendants of 272 slaves sold to pay off Georgetown Jesuits' debt, a move that saved the university financially. Todd Olson, the Vice President of Student Affairs at Georgetown University, in a statement issued after the vote, lauded the students' efforts, saying, "University values the engagement of our students and appreciates the 3,884 students made their voices heard in yesterday's election. Our students are contributing to an important national conversation, and we share their commitment to addressing Georgetown's history with slavery. The university has vowed to carefully review the results of the referendum, and regardless of the outcome, will remain committed to engaging with students, descendants, and the broader Georgetown community addressing its historical relationship to slavery. The Jesuits sold my family and 40 other families so you could be here," sophomore Melinda Short Column, a Georgetown student, said during a town hall to discuss the issue. She's one of 4 students currently attending the university under admissions policies that considers the descendants of 272 slaves as legacy students. In other words, they ain't paying a penny. That group also includes Elizabeth Thomas, who will receive her master's degree from Georgetown University in May and is a desk assistant at ABC News in Washington. She's a descendant of Sam and Betsy Harris, who were enslaved and sold by Georgetown University in 1838. If the current referendum passes, it's unclear whether Thomas will receive any reparations in the future. A week ahead of the vote, Short Column joined 100 other students packed in Georgetown's Levy Hall on campus as the gathering mulled the impact of the proposal. So there you go, folks. Think about that. Go out and read this article. This is a long article, but I say I want to applaud the Georgetown student body. They understand these children, and let me tell you this is not a black university. Yeah, it has black children, black students, but it is a predominantly white university, and it's a Jesuit university. So the Jesuits understand the impact of what reparations or what slavery did to people. Not only that, Georgetown exists because of the selling of 272 slaves. What you all don't know, that many of their descendants now are able to attend Georgetown as legacy descendants for free. In fact, I need to go and check my my history, because I might need to go to Georgetown. But see, that's one way you can give reparations. Why not everyone who wants to go to college, why not let them go? In fact, it's my argument, and you're already seeing this around the country, that many universities or community colleges, many states are already opening up their community colleges for people to go to school free. You should not be broke after you graduate. In fact, school has become a multi-billion-dollar business. Ask someone who has to buy a college textbook. $100 textbook you're only going to use for a semester, and then when you get to class, the professor says, well, you know, I like that textbook, but we're not going to use it much. So you don't buy the textbook, and then the very first lesson is from the damn textbook. But I digress. But my point is about Georgetown is that they understand. They understand what they were able. Look, that university would not exist today if it wasn't for those 272 slaves that were sold off. And who knows what happened to them? What other dastardly life they had to live, because living as a slave was bad enough. So the Jesuits, which is a religion, by the way, owned slaves. In fact, every religion in America owned slaves. Yes, the Southern Baptists. Yes, the evangelicals. Everyone but the black religions. See, this is why this thing is so complicated. Because when you look at history, when you go back and look at who benefited from slavery, you didn't have to own a slave to benefit from slavery. That's why I love white folks who say, "Oh well, I don't own slaves. Why do I have to suffer?" Well, you benefited from slavery. That's what white privilege is all about. And therein lies the wick. Therein lies the rub as to why America is so afraid to offer an apology for slavery. Because you begin to dig back and you see every institution in this country was built off of slavery. Even right now, check this out. Even right now, Microsoft, Intel, Google, Apple, Dell, all of these companies that are making hardware, you do understand that there's a particular mineral that is found only in Africa, and many of the people who are digging for this mineral are kids who are being paid pennies. Many of them are being put together or being put on these labor camps and not being paid anything. Even today, these corporations are benefiting from black labor. So I ask you the question, when are we going to benefit? Isn't it time? Man, it's beyond time. What y'all waiting on, dude? 855-525-5683 is the number. I love this. I love the fact that, see, the reparations thing has gotten out of the bottle. See, be careful what you pander for, white politicians, because this has been this has been a scabbed sore. We all have had scabbed sores before, where you fell down and you skinned your arm or your elbow, and you thought it was, you know, you could touch it and it was healed, or you thought it was, and then you go through a door and you catch the corner of the door with your elbow and you knock that scab off. Woo, that is some painful stuff. That's what these white politicians did when they started espousing reparations. It had crusted over. It was still there. It was an unhealed wound. It was still there. It was that scab that you walk through that door and knock it off, and all the pain and injustice rears its head once again. Think about that. So now that it has reared its head, now it's got to be discussed in earnest. It will be discussed in earnest. Okay? It will be discussed in earnest. And you know, that brings me to a poem. I'm not a poet, but I couldn't help but to think of A Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes, because that's what these reparations stand for to me. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? It's exploding. This is a dream deferred. This is what's happening. And it's not going away. Now, I don't care how you pay for it. Just cut me a check, dog. Look, I'd like to have it. Look, you know what? I'd take 4 years of college right now, hands down. I'm serious. Let me qualify it. I'd take 4 years of college plus at least for me to go get a master's. Enough where I can go get a master's. I'm serious. I'd take that hands down. Now, I know some people would want, because see, I could turn around and take that master's and turn that in. Let's say if they're going to give me $20K. See, I can go get a master's degree and I could take that and turn that into quadruple of $20K or more. I know that for a fact. Okay? So if you're going to give me reparations, then I'd rather you give me credits to go to a college where I can get my master's degree. Okay? So we're going to talk about reparations. Some people might want money. Some people might want college credits. Some people might want credits on their homes. But what we don't want is politicians deciding that you're going to put it in a block grant and it's going to go to a community. No, it ain't going to no damn community. It's going to individuals who have suffered. And I don't care if it is a black person who is suggesting that it go to communities. No, you're wrong. It needs to go to individuals, and they can decide how they want to spend their reparations. But I want to thank the kids of Georgetown University. If you all want to go out and read this story, it's on my wall. But it's all over the internet. We talked about it yesterday. What will Harvard do? What will Yale do? What will Penn do? All of those Ivy League schools that benefited from slavery. All of those Ivy League schools that took money from slave owners in order for those slave birth children to get an Ivy League education. What will the Ivy League schools do? You always talk about you are a beacon of hope, a beacon of morals. Let's see your morals now, buddy. Georgetown has thrown down the gauntlet. And I applaud them. Congratulations. It's time for America to step up. It's time for people in America to understand that you live on the backs of people who died so you can benefit. Company after company. And it's time to pay the piper. 855-525-5683 is the number. We're going to go and take a quick break. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. When we come back, we've got some other stuff for you. Man, that Langston Hughes was awesome. Let me read that again. Wow. Where did it go? Man. Let me go back. I've got this like Langston Hughes poem stuff. and it just rotates through all of Langston Hughes' poems. You know what I'm saying? Langston Hughes was like my favorite of all time. It'll be here in just a moment. All right, here we go. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Back in a moment.
Easter Sunday, April 21st, 5:30 p.m. The BKLR Quartet Convention presents the Arkansas Connection Easter Blockbuster at Judah Restoration Worship Center, 2401 South Main Street in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Bishop Esau Watson. You'll see gospel greats performing like Bishop Kenneth Robinson and Chosen, the Sensational Wells Brothers, the Racy Brothers, Ray Rogers and Men of Destiny, Revive, the Hunter Brothers, Pastor Austin Hill and Renew, Travis Jackson Jr. and the Spiritual Sons, the Eternal Light Singers, the Barnes Brothers. Don't miss the pre-show at 4:45 p.m. featuring Cambria and the Girls, Voices of Heaven, the Gillette Juniors, Pastor T.W. Scott and the Singing Rebs, and Genuine, formerly the Gospel Warriors. The Arkansas Connection Easter Blockbuster. Easter Sunday, April 21st, 5:30 p.m. with the pre-show at 4:45 p.m. at the Judah Restoration Worship Center in Pine Bluff. Tickets are $10 at the door, $25 for VIP. For information, call 501-291-9099. Co-sponsored by Robinson Mortuary, James Gray and Paradise Funeral Homes, Eternal Light Funeral Homes, and Miles J. Kimball.
Business owner, can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, hey, I didn't know you had a business? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joinedradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Coleman, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joinedradio.com. Here's the number. Call me 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found A Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at A Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to A Kick Above, I look marvelous.
Guess who's on JoyNet Radio? It's your girl LMJ with Coffee and Conversations with Lakeisha. Coffee and Conversations with Lakeisha is an interactive online daily devotional that rightly divides the Word of God. It's Kingdom, baby. Join us Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, that's weekday mornings, 5 a.m. at joynetradio.com.
Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of the show, Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Our voices, 855-525-5683 is the number. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this hour as well. I was actually going through my feed because I was looking for a particular article about Belgium. And you all may have seen it. But I wanted to get it out because I posted a picture of some Belgian soldiers who were, here it is. And give me a moment here. Let me go back to the picture. By the way, you're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. You can join the show by calling 855-525-5683. I like to tell people that this is not a show where you agree with everything I say. I try to put out things that will elicit thought from you, that will make you think a different way. It is not to offend, although what we've seen as of late is that facts do offend some people because some people just can't handle the facts. So if you are offended on facts, then I can't help you. All right, then you're just gonna be offended. But you can call me up. Also, you can hit me up on blackfocusradio@gmail.com if you want to cuss me out. You can also cuss me out on my wall, on my feed. You can do that as well. I am streaming YouTube. If you all, I think I posted the YouTube link earlier. If you all will go out and hit that link, hit a like. Let me see if it's still in my paste. Yeah, it's still there. So I just posted it again. So if you all would go out and hit that like button for me on YouTube, I got to get up to like 1,000 followers. Don't just like it, but follow it, okay? I need to get up to 1,000 followers so I can be like official. It didn't used to be that way, so it won't let me stream on my phone. Let's put it that way. Now I can stream on my PC, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing a couple of things today. I'm streaming on my PC and I'm streaming on my phone. I'm streaming Facebook on my phone and YouTube on my PC. Now, the great geniuses out there, here's what we need. We need one app where we can stream every medium, okay? Whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's, Instagram, Twitter, it doesn't matter. We need one app because having to, I ought to be able to just pull up the app, type in the stream codes from the various people, whatever form it is, and hit a thing that says stream, and boom, there we are. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay. But I was talking to you a little earlier about this thing from Belgium. Okay. And here's the title. It's from the New York Times. It's called Belgium Apologizes for Kidnapping Children from African Colonies. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because on my wall, there is a picture of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 white men and one black child. That black child is 7 years old. It took 8 white men, and apparently these are military guys, They were surrounding this one black 7-year-old child. He is standing on what looks like to be a box. Around his neck is a rope. The rope is thrown over some type of trestle. And here's the irony. This was in 1908. The Belgians are reading the Bible before hanging a 7-year-old child in Congo under King Leopold. The boy was hung because his father did not produce enough wheat for the colonists. Y'all get that, right? This 7-year-old child did nothing, but apparently his father was tasked to produce wheat at a set amount and didn't reach his amount. So they hung the 7-year-old child. That's King Leopold. That's Europeans. That's the Belgians. And I find it ironic that this New York Times story now saying the Belgians, who are, here's the sick thing about the Belgians. They have a tradition of serving, because what you all don't know about King Leopold, if he didn't kill Africans in the Congo, he would chop their arms off or their legs off or their hands. Mainly it would be their feet or their hand. So even today in parts of Belgium, they have a ceremony where they actually will mold chocolate hands and feet to sell. Y'all hear this? This should not be new to you all, but if it is, do your research. The sick part about it is King Leopold killed millions. He killed millions more Africans than those who were killed in the Holocaust. And those who were not killed, they were amputated of one limb or the other by chopping off your hand or chopping off your foot. And even today in Belgium, they will have a ceremony. Let me look this up real fast. Belgium chocolate hands. All right, so I just typed in Belgium chocolate hands. You type it in too. You all type it in too. In fact, I'm going to post this in the feed so you all can understand where I'm going with this. All right? But the whole point of this is to let you know that, as a matter of fact, instead of just that's the query that I pulled up on Google. There is a YouTube. Okay, it's called Blood Chocolate: Hands of Congolese Children Collected as Trophies. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because at least the Belgium government is beginning to understand, at least so we think, it's sorted past. At least we hope that's what's happening. All right, go look at that YouTube video I just posted, folks. It's called Blood Chocolate. Go check it out. So all of this ties back into reparations, is that at some point you're going to have to pay the piper. Apologies are nice, but you need to pay the piper. As Robert, my co-host, would say quite often is, hey, you can apologize to me all you want, but until you break bread with that apology, it means nothing to me. I don't care if the United States does give an apology. If you're not breaking bread, if you're not cutting me a check, I don't care. It means nothing to me. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you want to talk on the show. By the way, I didn't know this, but those of you who are wondering, taxpayers are still footing the bill for the mounting legal fees of Alton Sterling's killer. In a strange set of circumstances, Baton Rouge taxpayers are apparently covering the legal bills for the fired officer who shot and killed Alton Sterling July 2016. Residents are picking up the tab while the ex-cop battles the city to get his job back. The East Baton Rouge Parish Metro Council approved an increase in public funds on Wednesday for Blaine Salamone to defend himself against a lawsuit on behalf of Sterling's children. In case you forgot, Salamone and his partner, Howie Lake, were responding to a call about a man threatening someone with a gun outside a convenience store. Sterling, 37, did have a gun, and the cops claimed that he was reaching for it when he was tackled. Salamone pulled his gun as Sterling questioned why the officers were trying to detain him. Salamone shouted, "Don't effing move or I'll shoot your effing A," before firing. Louisiana District Attorney declared last year not to prosecute now Salamone or his partner, which set off another round of protests in the city. Attorney General Jeff Landry said the officers' actions were well-founded and reasonable, yet police officials fired Salamone and the officers decided to appeal his dismissal. Now, this brings us to Bradley Blackshire. Stark says he wasn't fired, he resigned. But I'm telling you, we remember the Alton Sterling case, right? We just heard the words from the officer telling him that if you move, I'm going to shoot you, and then started shooting. Not one dime of time. I'm just letting you know. But the irony is that because he is an officer, he has to be defended by the city. And they've already kicked up a lot of money, and they are spending more than $37,000 for his legal defense because he's being sued by Alton Sterling's children. I tell you what, the police union got it good, don't they? They done suckered a lot of us. Because I'm telling you folks, if they had to defend their own cases, they wouldn't be shooting these people in the street. I guarantee you they'd be abiding by the law. I promise you they would. But because they know even if something breaks down, they got the union that's going to be, and the city that's going to be paying their legal bills. Interesting. Kind of sad to say the least. By the way, how many of you all out there got an Alexa? Raise your hand if you have an Alexa. After I read this story, you may not want to have an Alexa. Now, I will tell you that there is an Alexa in my house, but it is used very rarely. And that's by design. Let me say it again. It's used very rarely. Because I understand, see, here's what happens with the Alexa. In order for it to work the way it does, let me nerd out on you for a minute, and I'm going to make it simple for people who don't understand technology. So in order for that device to work, it has to be able to understand language. So in order to understand language, it has to develop a database. And then they have to write fancy algorithms to let it know how to respond to certain language. So in order to become more aware, it's always on. So when you in there making love to your man or your woman and y'all talking dirty and you have the Alexa on your nightstand, Alexa is getting all that. You all understand that, right? I'm not trying to scare you, but this is the ultimate in Big Brother watching. In other words, Alexa is trying to develop a database to be able to respond to you and be more user-friendly. So let me read this story to you. Not only is Alexa listening when you speak to an Echo Smart speaker, an Amazon employee is potentially listening too. So while you're saying, slap it, baby, hit it, baby, come on, baby, that Amazon employee is listening to y'all. Amazon employs a global team that transcribes the voice commands and feeds them back into the software to help improve Alexa's grasp of human speech so it can respond more efficiently in the future. Amazon reportedly employs thousands of full-time workers and contractors in several countries, including the United States, Costa Rica, and Romania, to listen to as many as 1,000 audio clips in a shift that lasts up to 9 hours. The audio clips they listened to were described as mundane or even sometimes possibly criminal, including listening to a potential sexual assault. In a response to the story, Amazon confirmed CNN Business that it hires people to listen to what customers say to Alexa. But Amazon said it takes security and privacy of our customers' personal information seriously. The company said it only annotates an extremely small number of interactions from a random set of customers. Y'all believe that? The report said Amazon doesn't explicitly tell Alexa users that it employs people to listen to the recordings. Amazon said in its frequently asked questions section that it uses requests to Amazon to train our speech recognition and natural language and understanding systems. People can go and opt out of Amazon using their voice recordings to improve the software in the privacy settings. So here's what I'm trying to tell you, cool cats. Okay? What I'm trying to tell y'all is that while y'all doing that drug deal, or while you are planning to cheat on your wife or your girlfriend, somebody's listening and you've invited them to into your bedroom. While you're getting ready to cop that bag of weed, Amazon knows. You said, well, I don't have an Amazon device. Yes, you do. If you got a Fire Stick, do you know that you can speak into your Fire Stick? You said, well, I don't have a Fire Stick. Yes, you do if you have a smart TV. So it builds this database. And here's the irony behind it. It hasn't been legally said one way or the other whether or not you can go in and opt out, or better still, the police can come in and say, hey, we believe John Q. Parker committed a crime. And they go to Amazon and they pull up all of your voice recordings. That should be scary to everybody. Part of the reason that I don't use an Amazon stick, part of the reason, even when I go to gas stations, I went to one the other day. It annoys me to no end that I have to give you my email address in order to get a 3-cent discount. That annoys me. I don't know about you, but that bothers me. Okay? So I went into a gas station the other day, and she said, do you have, and I forgot the name, do you have a so-and-so card? No. Would you like one? No. And she looked at me so incredulously and I'm like, did I say something wrong? It was almost like I said something wrong because I did not want one of those cards. I just didn't want it because I don't want my email address or my name or my phone number in another damn database. I mean, enough of them as it is. I went to a cleaner's yesterday, right? To pick up some cleaning for my mom. When I went to put the cleaners in, I had forgotten when I first moved here, I had used that cleaners before. And they asked me, sir, what's your name? And I gave him my name, of course. And sure enough, he types it in and boom, I'm up in their database. I'm like, damn. I don't want to be in your database. I don't want to get an extra discount. Give me the discount anyway. Okay? I'm in some. I was a sucker at first. I'm like in the Kroger database because I try to get free gas or better gas prices, especially the way they're going up now. But I say all this because this relates to, believe it or not, back to Bradley Blackshire and us now becoming aware that your license plates are being scanned. Now, I knew what's happening in other parts of the country, but right here in Little Rock, your license plates are being scanned. That license plate number goes into a database. So every time if that scanner is static, that means that if it's staying in one place, let's say for instance, there's a scanner on 12th and Pine. Every time you go by 12th and Pine, your license plate is scanned. It gives you the plate number, it gives you the time of day, it gives the direction in which you were traveling. It goes into a database. You can be tracked. So when people come up with those things, hey man, how much would you take if I gave you $1 million and you went up in this cabinet in the mountains for 6 months and didn't have any internet? Would you take it? I would. I would love to opt out of. I don't want to be in your database anymore. So just be aware that if you've got an Alexa or an Echo device from Amazon, that anything you say around it's recording it. And not only is it recording it, some of Amazon's employees are listening to you whisper sweet nothings in your side piece's ear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare y'all. I'm just letting you know. Okay? I'm just letting you know. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. Tell you what I want to do. I want to play 5 minutes of former Baltimore cop says why they target black people. I think y'all will like this. So let's get a little bit of this right here. Hang on a minute, I gotta close some windows here. I apologize. Here we go.
It just snaps her, like, oh, got out, and threw the guy off the bike, picked up the guy's shoes, and the guy's shoes went to the roof.
I'd heard about some of this stuff already from Mike's Twitter feed. What I really wanted to understand was why it happened. How does this culture of contempt and violence towards black people take hold in a police department like Baltimore's? And how is it perpetuated, even after an entire year of police scandals being in the headlines?
How has the climate sort of in the city shifted since Freddie Gray was killed and the riots happened? And these people that we just passed, like, do they live in fear of police? They live across the street from where Freddie Gray was killed.
Right, so what they fear is that we can get away with whatever we choose to get away with. The laws are to the point where anybody can be locked up pretty much for any time. Like one of the cases I did in the Senate in Maryland that I testified to was how you can't actually drive a car legally. I mean, it would be impossible. No one can get this car from here to the end of the street completely legally.
So an officer can arrest you
at any point in time. So you're constantly ready to be a problem.
The key thing to understand, Mike told me, is that in many cases, the officers who treat people like that are doing so because they're afraid.
I've always thought that those are the ones that actually cross the line more. It's the ones that are afraid. And that's our standard in policing, is fear. So if you're afraid, you can do whatever you want. That's the legal standard. So if I am afraid that you can take my life, then I'm allowed to take yours legally.
Where does the fear come from then? Like in the guys that do have the fear, it sounds like you think that a lot of them, most of them do.
We're pussies. I'm not afraid to say it. They were the people that were afraid before they came in, and just because you got a badge and a gun doesn't suddenly mean you're not afraid.
I don't think most people think of police officers as being afraid, as being primarily afraid.
Definitely afraid. There's cops that won't get out of their car when there's a fight with a guy and another officer.
To some extent, they're taught to be afraid, right? They've shown videos in which guys who hesitate, a second too long are blown away by some madman in the street.
Yeah, I think completely right. I mean, that is actually what they show you. They show you the videos. There's an infamous one of a cop who is getting shot at and actually just seems afraid to pull the trigger at another human being. Like the guy was so empathetic that he couldn't, even though he was going to lose his life, he couldn't bring himself to kill another human being. And that's a video they show all the time.
Fear, Mike said, has a nasty tendency to turn into a kind of constant flow of anger. To close out our tour, Mike took me to a part of Baltimore that was very different from everything we'd seen so far. A white neighborhood on the north side of town. It's where he was transferred after about 4 years in the force. He found the contrast astonishing. He also found it difficult to make his numbers because all of a sudden he didn't have anyone to arrest. His solution? Drive 2 blocks away, to a part of town where he could easily find young black men.
So who would you arrest here? For what? It seems like you need a reason. You were saying earlier that
But you don't! That's the thing you're not understanding. So they were in the street.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, jaywalk. Okay, so if they throw a cigarette on the ground, you can do it, and people do those petty arrests. You'll see them. So Freddie Gray being arrested for a spring-loaded pocket knife, you can't tell me that black people carry spring-assisted pocket knives in a greater ratio than white people do, or even Hispanics because they're doing the construction sites around here. That's a ridiculous thing to say. Of course we all have I have a spring-assisted pocket knife. Conveniently, legally, there's a exception for police, imagine that. So when you go and you look at the arrest records, what are you going to see? But the people here are carrying spring-assisted pocket knives at the same ratio as the people up there. So we're not focused on the crime of the spring-assisted pocket knife. We're focused on the crime of being black and poor.
Wow. Wow.
Why distrust and hostility flow so freely between the police and the city and the communities they're supposed to be protecting. That us versus them mentality that Mike was talking about earlier, it gets reinforced and sharpened systematically, almost by design, and it poisons every interaction that cops in Baltimore have with the city's residents. Until the police figure out what the people who live here actually need from them, what it would take for officers to start improving people's lives instead of making them harder, sadder, less free, the anger and the fear that Mike Wood saw on the job are just going to persist.
Setting the stage and then going, oh my gosh, look at this stage. Well, yeah, we created it.
Wow. That's out of the mouths of a police officer. That's out of the mouths of a police officer saying how this was created. By the way, not a black police officer, but a white police officer. And his argument is that police are going to work in fear. And they've set it up that if you are in fear, that gives you the right to kill another person. So we've already heard it. Every time someone is killed, I was in fear of my life. That's the catchphrase. You don't have to be in fear of your life, but all you got to do is say it. It's been set up to the point where all you got to do is say, I was in fear of my life, and guess what happens? You can kill a person. That is a dangerous, dangerous precedent. It is dangerous. And it should concern us all. But for whatever reasons, it doesn't. We know it doesn't concern white people. It concerns black people, but black people don't know how to address it. But man, when I read that or when I heard that, I said, man, I've got to play that on the show. This explains a lot. This explains a lot. 855-525-5683 is the number. I want to remind you on tomorrow morning is where it's the weekly sports magazine. We'll be talking sports in the morning, so be sure to tune in. We start at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Certainly we'll be talking about the Magic Johnson resignation, the abrupt resignation. We'll also be talking about the Kyle Culver letter that he wrote about white supremacy. We are in the middle of the hockey playoffs. My Predators have already lost one game. Come on, boys. Let's get it together. The NBA playoffs began this weekend. Season ended on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about the prospective winners of various awards for the NBA. We'll get into all of that tomorrow morning, bright and early. And as I tell you over and over again, we play the best old school bumper music in the universe. So make sure you set your clock, get up with me early in the morning, and let's talk a little sports. Okay? I haven't talked much about Candace Owens, and that's purposely. But I am so glad that, and you know, it's amazing to me that there are black people that you can find. I mean, I guess if Candace Owens had her way, she'd say that slavery didn't exist. It was a figment of our imaginations. Okay? She'd probably say that the pyramids didn't exist or that Africans didn't build the pyramids. But she testified earlier this week at the so-called white nationalist hearing, which turned into a joke. But she claims that the Southern strategy was a myth, even though Lee Atwater clearly states the Southern strategy, and clearly what we see today is the Southern strategy. But director Ava DuVernay offered a history lesson from her own documentary on Tuesday to call out conservative conspiracy theorist Candace Owens for falsely claiming the Republican Southern strategy used to cement white supremacy in the South and recruit Southern Democrats to the GOP was a myth. Testifying during the committee hearing on the rise of white nationalism, Owens, a Fox News commentator and director of communications at Turning Point USA, insisted the Southern strategy never happened. In response, the Oscar-nominated filmmaker reposted a clip from her 2016 documentary. 13th, a comprehensive examination of the ways white politicians, including President Donald Trump, have long used racism and systematic disenfranchisement of black people as a political tool. Let's see if we can listen to this. Y'all get that, right? So instead of using racial slurs, they say stuff like thug, welfare queen. Those are just code words for black people. So Candace Owens said, and by the way, that person talking, that was Lee Atwater. On his dying bed, apparently he was in a lot of pain. He probably knew he was going to hell. He probably had a vision that he was going to hell. But on his dying bed, he repented and said he was sorry for all of the turmoil that he caused with that strategy. But Candace Owens said that that didn't exist. Ava DuVernay said, let me go ahead and leave this right here for folks confused about the uninformed mess that someone named Candace Owens is trying to pass off as truth. In fact, it's just white nationalist revisionist garbage. The Southern strategy goes as follows and continues the marathon. The clip is a recording of a veteran conservative political operative, Lee Atwater, describing how Republicans gradually employed veiled racist rhetoric and dog whistles to rally conservative voters in tandem with making it difficult for black people to vote. By the way, another group was called ALEC. DuVernay added that Owens, a black woman spouting revisionist history about pain suffered by black people, was the most evidence that the Southern strategy succeeded in many ways. Boy, that's deep. If you have not seen 13th, I advise you to see it. Listen to this.
Formerly staunch Democrats.
Persuading poor and working class whites into the
Republican fold.
By speaking to in subtle and non-racist terms.
thinly veiled racial appeals.
Talking about crime, by talking about law and order, or the chaos of our urban cities.
It was part and parcel of the backlash of the civil rights movement.
That again is another excerpt from 13th. It's on Netflix. If you have not seen that video, by the way, all of you folks out there who were for Nipsey Hussle, have you seen 13th yet? Go out there and check it out. I advise you. But it's fascinating that this woman was even allowed to speak before Congress, because you're talking about the ultimate in pure ignorance. And I'm being kind. But I mean, he's the ultimate in pure, she's the ultimate in pure ignorance. Just boggles my mind that this continues to happen. And here's a black woman, by the way, the same black woman, I believe in, 2011, 12, somewhere in there. She's running around talking about discrimination doesn't exist. And she's the same person who actually sued an employer for discrimination and won. So if she believes that it doesn't exist, then she's going to give all her money back, right? Here's the bottom line on Candace Owens. You've heard of a flim-flam man? A flim-flam man will be on your side long as you are footing the bill. They're Stevens from Django. But they happen in all races. We've all seen it. You've got the rich guy, and there's this one guy that seems to hang around and nothing more than a yes man. Subconsciously, the hanger-on hates the rich guy. But yes, sir, Mr. Brown. No, sir, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, you sneezing here. Let me get your towel, Mr. Brown. That's nothing more than what Candace Owens is. She's a flim-flam woman. That's all she is. And that's the bottom line on it. She's a flim-flam woman. And it's amazing that she's being allowed to make free money. Because that's what she's doing. She's making money off of white people because they're saying, yeah, we've got a black one. Yeah, they'll go out and speak now. Look, they're putting her up in room and board. They're paying big money for her. So, and here's a fascinating thing about it with me. And here's what bothers me about a lot of people. Okay? This bothers me about a lot of people. People tend to think that because someone is making money, that makes them somebody. We know it. So, regardless of how they made that money, they think that they're special. I'm sorry, I just lost my feed on my phone. I don't have my cord, but it's gone. So we'll try it again tomorrow. We're not going to get it set back up right now. So, but you can still go out and check out the YouTube to finish the show. But we find that those people who are making money, those are the people that they know something. They got a good gimmick. If you doubt me, look what's in the White House right now. It's pretty clear that he's dumb as a box of rocks. That's pretty clear. Donald Trump is dumb as a box of rocks. He's had former professors to say it. You can always listen to him. Look, someone who doesn't speak in complete sentences, hey, I'm sorry. People judge you by how you speak. And if you can't speak in complete sentences, you're not too educated, folks. At least people will agree or tend to believe that you're not. That may be. Now look, you don't have to be educated to be rich. But what I'm simply saying is, right off the bat, I tell you guys all the time, just because someone, we do this with athletes a lot. We do this with rappers a lot. We tend to believe that, hey, just because they're making money, they can rap that they know something about something, when they know nothing about everything. That's what we do. Oh, let's get the professional basketball player to come speak on politics when he hadn't voted in the last 3 elections. That's what we do. And we have to get over that. We have to understand that, yeah, people are fortunate. People make money for various reasons. But how did they make their money? And is that person worthy of your ear? Of your time? We got to be able to discern the difference, folks. We have to. Because there are a lot of people coming into our communities that are so-called prophets and preachers, and they're doing nothing. We heard about one this past week who was a so-called prophet or preacher who ended up losing his life for playing a game between 2 women. Word is that a third woman called a local radio show to say that all 3 of them knew about one another. But we are so quick to believe someone because they can stand behind a pulpit or a television camera. (855-525-5683) is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you want to call the show. I mean, I'm going to tell you, folks, I can't be proud of those kids at Georgetown. I can't be proud of them. I'm just kind of going through my feed to make sure I haven't left anything out. Some of this stuff I'm not going to even talk about. By the way, we're going to get to see just how powerful Donald Trump is, because you need to turn over your tax returns. You don't have a choice, bro. You don't get to say no. Now let's see how many of these Republicans defend him. By the way, I saw this story the other night, and this is a local story, but really? Police responded late Wednesday night in reference to a homeless man being beaten, allegedly unprovoked. He was a 68-year-old man. He was sleeping on a bench near the Shack, a homeless shelter on Baseline Road, when he was attacked. Gordon Curtis, 31, was working at the Shack when he told police a black male entered asking if another employee was available. When Curtis told the suspect that the employee was not working today, he observed him exit the laundromat and walk around the side of the building where the homeless man was sleeping on a bench. Moments later, Curtis reported hearing noises similar to someone being attacked and reported seeing the suspect run and enter a gray truck near the building. Paramedics arrived and transported Vala Sufan, which was the victim, to St. Vincent's Hospital. A nurse later told police that he was later transported to UAMS Trauma Center because every bone in his face was broken. The suspect has not been identified. Wow. Let's see this. What is it? 8 bones, 9 bones in your face? Bones in your... So if he broke every bone in his face, that means he had to have brass knuckles on. Or he had to have something hard. It's 14 bones in your face. I was way off. I would have flunked my muscle skeleton test. Although I used to know all of the bones in the body. Was it 221 somewhere in there? So you got 2 nasal. Let's go ahead and 2 nasal, 2 lacrimals, 2 inferior nasal concha, 2 maxillas, 1 mandible, 1 vomer, 1 zygomatic, and 1 palatin. I used to know those, believe it or not. Oh, the days of school. But why would you want to do so? He broke 14 bones in this man's face? Wow. That's pretty disgusting. That's pretty disgusting. Here's another story before we wrap up the show. South Carolina white man who tried to hire the KKK to kill black neighbor gets 10 years. This was from Greenville, South Carolina. Let's see if there's a date line on this. Date line April 11th. So that was yesterday. I always tell you all to check the date lines. Although some stories are older, they still are relevant. A white man who tried to hire a hitman from a South Carolina branch of the KKK, the terrorist organization named the KKK, to kill a black neighbor was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison on Thursday. It's one thing to think these thoughts, but it's a crime to undertake to do harm to another, intoned U.S. Judge Bruce Howe Hendricks before passing sentence on Brandon LaCroix, 26 of Greenwood County. LaCroix's arrest last year by an undercover FBI agent who posed as a KKK hitman named Mark made headlines far beyond South Carolina, coming as it did amid reports of rising incidents of racially inspired crimes against minorities across the country. The agent from Lexington County was working with a domestic terrorist task force made up of the FBI, state, and local law enforcement officers. Before sentencing the defendant, Hendricks ruled that LaCroix's offense qualified as a federal hate crime, but noted that the incident was so serious she would have given him 10 years in prison even if race had not been a factor. 10 years is the maximum sentence for the offense. Hendricks made her hate crime ruling after hearing a spirited argument by LaCroix's attorney Erica Soderall, who said race didn't play a role in the crime. LaCroix was only trying to get rid of an extremely troublesome neighbor who happened to be African American. Yeah. The neighbor, identified by only initials FJ, kept coming into LaCroix's property, trying to start fights and asking for food to use the phone. LaCroix had repeatedly tried to get local police to keep the neighbor from trespassing, to no avail. But FJ kept coming back, according to his attorney. It's not about an overriding feeling about race. It's about one individual. Finally, in desperation, after police wouldn't act, LaCroix went on the internet and found an 864 area code for a local KKK chapter. Brandon called the KKK because who else was going to call? Boy, this is his attorney talking, folks. Your Honor, the fact that he reached out to the white terrorist organization known as the KKK, this is not a low-functioning individual. It's telling that to get a black person eliminated, he turned to the white terrorist organization called the KKK. All righty then. Thank you, Mr. LaCroix. Thank you very much. By the way, I added the white terrorist organization called the KKK. I told you all I was going to start doing that. That's what we all need to do. But Mr. LaCroix is now in the big house. Wow. Oh, former NAACP ringleader or leader Rachel Dalzell agrees to plea deal on welfare drug fraud charges. Okay. Also, LA Goon puts $50,000 on Kodak Black's head for disrespecting Nipsey Hussle. Here we go. See how ridiculous this is? Why don't you take that $50,000, LA Goon, and invest it in a black community? You know why you won't do it? Because you want to keep mess up. Y'all are part of the problem. Y'all are part of the problem. And it's not going to go away, unfortunately. It's not going to go away. 855-525-5683 is the number. We're going to be wrapping up the show here in just a moment. I'm looking at someone working on the computer here too. I'm nerding out here. But I do want to remind you that if you believed in what Nipsey Hussle stood for, if you believed in what Marcus Garvey stood for, or Frederick Douglass, or Harriet Tubman, or Malcolm X, or H. Rap Brown, or Fred Hampton, or Kwame Ture, or Martin Luther King Jr., all of them were talking about economic equality. And of course, we got to throw in Nipsey Hussle in there. Don't want to forget about Tupac. I'm still not figuring out why everybody loves Tupac, but I'll throw him in there. Everybody has their martyrs of their time, but I'd like to see, to me, a martyr should be someone who changed the nation, who moved people to be different from who they are. Not just because you were a good rapper and you said things. But hey, we all have different standards. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I hope y'all enjoyed this show. I'm just nonplussed about all of these marches and stuff. I just need y'all to take some of that money and spend it with black people. And if you would simply do that, I'd be a happy camper. All right, we're going to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. You know what? I think I want to go back and read that Langston Hughes dream deferred again. I don't know why. So why don't we do that before we wrap up the show? What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Y'all have a great day.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our